He comes from an amazing background in sports dietitian in combat sports. He's performed at a high level himself, as well as helping the Australian boxing team. He also works with the Canterbury Bulldogs as well too, from a rugby league point of view. And I believe a female fighter, Jasmine Parr, has also been on your books, and she's got a few titles under her belt as well. So both in the male and female world. So it covers everything in that aspect, and I cannot stress how important dietitians are, and what you put in your body and how you fuel your body is to your performances that you put in on the courts and the playing fields. And Alex, I have to ask you how important, I mean, we just spoke about how important food is for what your skin does, but for well-being, what you put inside your tummy and for your gut health is huge.
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, I think a lot of the time when we talk about sports nutrition or sports dietetics, we always think, you know, what are we doing to improve our performance, right? Like, what are we doing to get the most of our training? But we kind of forget that your energy, what your nutrition is doing is so important for everything else, right? Especially as a youth athlete, most people can probably get away with, you know, not eating too well and getting through their morning training session, but then they end up going to school and they end up being tired and they feel fatigued and they struggle to really like pay attention in class or socialize or do their work afterwards. So it definitely plays a huge role.
And I guess, I mean, when I was a kid, I just thought I could eat anything I want, and I had hollow legs that went straight in, straight out of my legs, and you don't change in size and fit, and your fitness stays the same because you're running around, but you're 100% right in terms of your energy and output. And majority of the guys here, they might be training before school, they've got hours of school there as well, then they come home, the parents are doing the right thing. They've got the cupboards are full and everything's there, but the kids are coming home and they're like, there's nothing to eat. And I mean, they're fueling them, they're doing the right things. Yeah. How do you get that balance in your day? Like, do you need to be doing the meal prep the night before and making sure you've got it for school and all the way through to the end of the day?
Yeah, everyone's going to be a little bit different. I think it really depends on, you know, what their days look like, what their preferences look like. But we always sort of think, like, what are the gaps in the day where you have an opportunity to eat, and where can we find those, and what can we add to that? So, you know, for a lot of people, it might be difficult if they haven't really been able to eat enough during the day, and then they get home and they're really craving like those more processed foods or those foods higher in carbs or in sugars. And when you try and give them something which is healthier, they probably want to avoid it, yeah. Right? Where if you can kind of find those windows, let's say someone's training early in the morning and they're eating something before training, they're having something on the way to school, they're having some recess, they're having something at lunch, by the time they get home, they're probably going to be a lot more ready to have something which is going to be better for them. Where if they've sort of skipped one of those things, it's going to be difficult to do it.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate here. If the children in question haven't eaten in those timed windows, and the parents, as I mentioned, there is food in the cupboards, it's all there, they've got that urge for that fast processed food or something that's quick and easy, something that's in a packet or wrapping. What can they have, or what can we prepare for them to come home to that it's there for those emergency circumstances? We don't want to teach that that's what we're doing, but what is the best case scenario there?
Yeah, it's a good question. If someone's craving like something that's more processed, or someone is craving something higher in calories or quick, it's their body telling them that something's missing already, right? It's their body telling them that they need to eat something quickly. So I definitely listen to it, first of all. Like, I think it's going to be important to realize that that's what's happening and try and correct for that. Options, if we want to think about, you know, like a healthier option, I guess, something like a smoothie can be great. Mm-hmm. You can do like rice cakes with peanut butter and banana on it is going to be good. You can make a toasty, something like that would be nice. And then, of course, you know, if they aren't as hungry, then like fruits, nut bars, things like that are going to be good options.
And when you talk about starting the day, you know, sometimes you're tired, you've been studying all night the night before, and the morning's a bit of a hard slog to get out the door and to try and grab something that gives you energy to kick the start that day. What would you first sort of grab?
Yeah, again, like I think every question is going to be so contextual to like what they're used to and what they do. Probably the most important thing is you want to have a bit of a plan going into the next day. If you wake up, or if you're in a rush, or you're tired, or you're not usually that hungry in the morning, and then you try and think when you're waking up and getting ready, or I need to find something to eat, you're going to struggle. But if you know, kind of go into the next day, like I've got a few options that I can choose from, or something I pre-made the night before, that'd be a much better alternative. I think if we're thinking about options, if someone is used to eating in the morning and they find that they're hungry in the morning, something like overnight oats can be a really good addition. If someone is still getting used to that feeling of eating in the morning and fueling in the morning, and normally they just leave and go to school and won't have anything, even something like an up and go, right? Like a liquid option, which is going to be really easy to have and digest, is going to be much better than not having anything in that situation.
So what Alex has hammered home in those last 2 points is planning is so important. We plan to train, right? So we come into a training session, the coach is there, he's planned the whole session out, you follow through. Your week's planned out, you mapped out that way, food should be no different. Is that about right on that length?
Yeah, I think so. I would agree.
So when you're talking to parents, I guess, because they are the biggest supporters of the kids going through, and I mean, wait, is any of the kids doing the shopping or groceries? You got any of the children in the room doing groceries? Do you guys have any input into what goes into the trolleys, or what you ask for week to week? Have we all lost our voices? That time of night? So mostly it's going over to this side of the room. So what would you recommend when the parents are sitting there going, right, my child's got training 3 or 4 nights a week, maybe even more. They're juggling with a few parents. Looking at those grocery aisles, because again, it's overwhelming, same as that sort of skincare range. What would your advice be for them when they're going through the shops, and how to plan out even that week in advance?
Yeah. Whenever we're thinking about a snack, or whenever we're thinking about a meal, there's always certain things that we want to tick off first, right? If we're ticking all of that off, we can start thinking, what is the healthier option of this, or what's the better option for this for performance. But for example, if we're looking at, what snacks can we have available at the house, we're always thinking, is there in that snack, is there some sort of protein? And is there some sort of carbohydrate, right, as our minimum? So for example, for a snack, a Carmen's bar, like a Carmen's nut bar, which is your protein, and then a piece of fruit is perfect. You can do yogurt and have some granola or some frozen mixed berries that they can put in, which can be a good idea as well. And for main meals, we're really just thinking protein, carbs, and some sort of color. So whether that is for a breakfast option being fruit as your color, or for a lunch and dinner option being vegetables, we always want to kind of include all those 3 things. And then it's really just dependent on their goals and their preferences, how much of each thing we put in from there.
A show of hands for not the parents, because I know you already know how to cook. Kids, do we know how to cook? How often are we cooking? A lot? What's probably a go-to meal for you guys? Steak and egg? Is the same? Same? You're all just steak and eggs. Why are we going steak and eggs? Where did you see it? Tastes good. What would probably be an easy meal that these guys can do to give a night off for this side of the room?
Yeah.
Or where should they look? Like, you give your side a plug as well too. I know you're gonna have access to a lot of Alex's meals as well too.
Yeah, steak and eggs is like a good start. Like I actually think steak seems to be the first thing that everyone learns how to cook. Like every guy learns how to cook steak is their first thing. But
gotta own the grill, is that right?
But I would think about it kind of going back to what I said, like for a main meal, for example. We need protein, we need carbs, we need some sort of color, right? So steak and eggs, we've got our protein there, which is fantastic. But if we turn that into, a steak sandwich and put some like rocket in there, right? Now it's a much more much more complete meal. So I think that's a good one. I think really just anything that's kind of got those three things are going to be okay, right? Whether it's looking up and finding like a chef on YouTube or someone doing quick meals on YouTube, just something that looks interesting, finding those simple things and then just kind of thinking from your own perspective as an athlete, what do I need to tweak to make that work and make sure it's got all those three things in. If you're doing that, then I think it's going to be pretty comfortable.
There are so many things on the internet, and we've spoken about that before across in every area, but paleo, fasting, keto, what else we got in there? There's 1,000 different ones. How do you know what's right for you? How do you not get too far down the rabbit hole of going, okay, steak and eggs? So that's just all protein. What's that doing to your body if you're not putting any fiber in there?
Yeah, I think the problem when we start thinking about social media and what they're sort of projecting is what you should be doing is they take out all the context, right? So someone might say, carnivore is fantastic because you're getting enough protein, and because you're getting enough protein, you can recover. And this person did carnivore and they lost like a bunch of weight straight away. But when you start thinking about it in context and as an athlete, you start realizing, okay, they probably were eating more protein, so their recovery was probably a little bit better, but they lost that weight because they weren't having any carbs and they weren't having any carb stores in their body anymore, which means all their energy was gone, right? So I think it's always one of those things where we just need to think about it in context whenever you see something, whenever you see like a very bold claim, probably just thinking about, what that actually means in an athletic population. Same with fasting. Fasting can be like a tool that like people use outside of an athletic population. But as an athlete, if you're fasting and then training around a fasted period, you're going to really struggle with that training session. It's just not going to be beneficial for you.
What's probably one key takeaway or one big change that these guys can make sure is in their day-to-day, going away from today?
Yeah, I think probably my biggest takeaways is have a framework to your day. It gets really complicated if you start thinking straight away, I need to be hitting exactly this. If I'm missing this, it's going to be a problem. I can only have this as my protein source or only eat these kind of things as my carb source. If you're not having breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks in the day and something before training, you're going to really struggle to get used to stuff. But if you kind of have that framework already where you say, okay, before every training session, I'm going to have some sort of carbs, even if it's like an LCM bar or a piece of fruit. I'm then going to have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a recess. And when I get home, I'm going to have a snack as well. Any goal that you have beyond that, whether it's gaining weight, whether it's focusing on performance, whether it's changing your body composition in any way, if you have that framework, it gets much easier. But if you try and start with that end goal of I need to gain 10 kilos in muscle, but you're missing meals and you're not getting that structure, you're going to really struggle to get that right.
Love that. And as I mentioned, Alex is part of our team here at MTE now as well too, so he's going to be readily available. If anyone wants to book in for a consult, we're also going to be sharing bibs and bobs of his recipes and knowledge on our social media, so make sure you're following us if you're not already.
Impact on performance.
We'll wrap Alex there. Thank you so much for filling us all in on that. That was amazing. Alex is going to have a lot of information, videos, recipes and everything along our app. So if you haven't already downloaded that, please get in and around it as well.